What is going on, FA Nation? John Pemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Playbook Preview Show. Today, we are taking a look at the 7-game main slate for Thursday, starting at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time. Sir James, my friend, how we doing, man?
Doing pretty well. Interesting little 7-game slate. No course field. That's the most important thing we got going on. Just no course. Get it out of my life. I don't want to
Yeah.
talk about it anymore. I want it to go away. Um, because it's just like, I want to play course. All right, well, here's the game that they score 4 runs. I'm gonna fade course today because that's the great decision. There's 13 games on the slate. Here's 27 runs. It's
Yeah.
like good luck. Good luck guessing the right day on course, but it's an interesting 7-gamer. Not a lot of top tier pitching that should lead to some pretty good offensive potential. We
Sure.
have, there's some good names that are probably a little mispriced, but not exactly in the best matchup. So it'll be interesting to break things down for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. Starting off at the top of the pitching here, we have Tanner Houck going up against Chicago White Sox here, $9,800. We've talked, you and I, before the show about the merits of Tanner Houck being an all-star this year. We're pretty sure he is locked into one of the starting
Yep.
pitcher roles here for the American League. 1.85 ERA, 5-5 record. That's just the case of the Red Sox not being good enough to get him some run support. But 75 strikeouts in 78 innings is pretty good. A sub-1 WHIP. Really starting to develop as a consistent pitcher here in this Red Sox rotation. And then, of course, you add in the White Sox matchup here. Yes, they got Lewis Robert back, so that lineup slightly better, but still overall no great numbers against right-handed pitching this season. Just a 273 WOBA, 120 ISO, 215 batting average. Tanner Houck, top price guy, makes a lot of sense. Sonny Gray at home against Colorado, not in Coors, obviously. Gray last time out got into a little bit of trouble against Philadelphia. Still had 10 strikeouts though. The strikeout numbers for Sonny Gray have kind of been eye-opening here. 77 strikeouts in 57 innings for Sonny Gray. Like we haven't seen these strikeout numbers in a couple of years out of him. Now you're getting the Rockies here out of Coors in St. Louis. There's a reason those are your top 2 price guys. You and I have a rule: we don't pitch against Washington, so Reynaldo Lopez is probably going to be out of my player pool for this slate here. What are your thoughts overall on pitching tonight?
I might push back a little bit on
Okay.
the Washington front. They just haven't really been that good, especially lately. And almost a 22% strikeout rate against righties. 23rd in OPS, 132 ISO is not great. That ranks 24th.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't disagree where like it's still an offense. 21.7% strikeout rate is not high. But also Reynaldo Lopez has been really, really good. Another one of those like sub 2 ERA guys this
Yeah.
year. Obviously, quite a resurgence where his career kind of was headed and where it's heading now. So I would have a little interest there. It's like also the Sonny Gray front. Man, it's seemingly the same thing year in year out with Sonny Gray.
Pitch count.
The pitch count is just and I get it because if you let him go deeper into games, he breaks down, right? And I don't know if those two things correlate, but it always seemingly does.
Yeah.
There's always like some type of injury attached to Sonny Gray. I don't know if it's because the pitch count, but it's been since the beginning of May. We're now over a month since the last time he's thrown 90 pitches in a game, and that's like obviously not to say the results haven't been there because he's gotten 18 plus fantasy points in 4 straight games, but obviously that just caps. Why wouldn't I just spend $300 more for a guy who is throwing 100 pitches in Houck or $400 less in Reynaldo Lopez? Not that Lopez's pitch count has been great either, but
Him throwing 74 pitches through 5 1-hit innings and 8 strikeouts is like a federal crime.
it
Like
is.
there needs to be some like investigation as to whether or not somebody in the Cardinals organization bet the under 17.5 outs that day.
No.
I mean, listen, at this point in time, we're having, Tucupita Marcano get suspended for life here. A couple other Major League Baseball players getting year suspensions. We know the Jonte Porter suspension. We saw all the NFL players that got suspended for gambling on football, betting on football. So, listen, obviously I say that, in jest, but that's a little suspicious,
Right.
right?
It's weird. It's weird.
At home one hit allowed, 74 pitches. I mean, just what? Just out, just out, just out.
Just done. Just
Done.
no 8 strikeouts. Like, I mean, what I just don't.
Yeah. So
That,
I hear you, and I agree with you. If you want to go the Hauk route just for like the insured pitch count, that's fine. But like even going 80 pitches, like Sonny Gray's been phenomenal. So,
sure.
you can go there again. I hear you. Washington last year was far more pesky than they are this year. The bats obviously are much different. They are getting healthier though. Getting Lane Thomas back in that lineup does certainly help. Some things there. Last 2 weeks, that strikeout rate's down around 20%. It's 25th in baseball. So it's quick math, like 7th lowest, 6th lowest in the league. So, that's kind of what we saw out of them last year, but everything else is still pretty trash. So I could see where you're going with Reynaldo Lopez. Walker Buehler, we've had some success with him. We've had some non-success with him this season. $8,700 against Pittsburgh. This is not the right side of the matchup for Pittsburgh. They're not very good at all against right-handed pitching. 25% strikeout rate. 292 WOBA, third lowest in baseball. 128 ISO and a 228 batting average against right-handed pitching. So, nearly bottom 5, bottom 3 in all statistical categories here. The win equity will be there going up against Bailey Falter on the other side here. Where are you with Walker Buehler? Good to see him up over 90 pitches the last 2 starts.
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of a mixed bag. Obviously, you want a little bit more with that Colorado start, given it was at home against a team who's struggling against right-handed pitching. The 4 walks, 10 base runners total just killed him. But you mentioned it, 92 pitches for a second straight start, and the 7 strikeouts now in 2 of his last 3. Both those things. I mean, this is a top end starting caliber pitcher coming off Tommy John, right? He's 5 starts back from removed from Tommy John surgery. So I'm all aboard Buehler at 8,700. You mentioned how bad Pittsburgh is against Brady. So he's probably my top pitcher per dollar that we've talked about so far.
Yep. I'm no arguments here. I'm not going to go Lopez against the Yankees. I think it'd be a fool to play anybody against the Yankees right now. Stroman on the other side. I mean, Royce Lewis is back. Royce Lewis is hitting home runs. So, we're Minnesota Twins stands here.
Yes.
Stroman has struggled against lefties. You're in Yankee Stadium. I don't really like this spot for him there. Hunter Greene, there's a lead strikeout upside. You also know he's almost as likely to have as many walks at times as strikeouts. So you've talked though. I mean, obviously the Cubs offense is slumping. Do you give Hunter Greene a look here tonight and hope that there's some high strikeout upside?
I will give Hunter Greene some benefit of the doubt in that Cubs game. Because if you remember, it was delayed about 3 hours.
Yeah.
And him and Justin Steele pitched in the rain. They just were pitching in the rain. Just straight up was raining the whole game. And if you were watching that game, Hunter Greene's fastball velocity was at like 92 miles an hour in the first inning.
Right.
And it makes you wonder if like he couldn't figure out how to pitch in the rain, couldn't grip the baseball in the rain. Like Hunter Greene does not throw 92 miles an hour unless he's going to have Tommy John. Right? Like, unless you're like, my arm, I can't feel my arm. There's something wrong with my elbow. Hunter Greene is 92 is like his changeup, right?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely willing to go back to the well. Now it's obviously Park downgrade. He's been fine at home, but it's like his ERA is 80 points higher in Great American than it is on the road. I like the price for the upside for Hunter Greene. It's a really good matchup. Again, willing to kind of just bypass the walk. Like, the walks have obviously still been there this year, but not as much as they have been in years past. I mean, he really cut them down in those 3 starts prior and 20 plus fantasy points after that. So a guy who goes deep into games, really, no matter what. I'm definitely interested in $8,200.
Okay. This is where it kind of gets a little interesting here, value wise. Anybody sticking out to you? I mean, Atlanta's offense, it is a lefty on the mound, but they've certainly slumped. They got shut out by the Red Sox and Nick Pivetta on Wednesday's slate. Parker's been pretty decent. Any interest here? And again, The lefty, him being a lefty, certainly worries me slightly because guys like Albies and Arcia and those guys do hit lefties well. But that lineup just isn't the same right now. Just not as good.
I am a little indifferent.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying. Doesn't make me feel good. Does not make me feel good. So like just targeting, because even without Acuna, like lefties are still the dominant, or left-handed pitchers are still like the dominant split um, for the Braves. I'm gonna pass. I don't really have much interest. I would say only guy I mean I do think there's actually a lot of appeal on Cal Quantrill at 6K. I know he was bad against the Dodgers. Okay. How about the 5 starts prior where Quantrill went 6+ innings, allowed 2 runs or fewer, and had 20+ fantasy points in 5 straight starts?
Yeah.
Philly, San Diego, San Francisco in that equation too. Like
Sure.
it was a pretty good run, and then you factor in, not that like St. Louis has obviously they have been better lately for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, you look at just Burleson and Gorman homering like every day, and Goldschmidt's been better lately. So like they definitely have some guys that are like hitting right now. Brendan Donovan has been okay. So like they're okay. But Quantrill at 6K makes me think like the pricing. I mean, he's been really cheap this year and was really cheap throughout a stretch where he put up 20+ fantasy points in 5
Yeah.
straight games. And I don't think the strikeouts are like necessarily sustainable over that. I mean, 5+ in 5 straight games. It's not really Cal Quantrill's
No.
game, but 24% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching this year for St. Louis. So something to consider. 6K. I'd rather take a shot on like Quantrill as opposed to
Okay.
Mitchell Parker. But I guess like I'm not saying I disagree with your Mitchell Parker take. I just prefer Quantrill for a little cheaper.
Sure. And I don't really think I would go to either unless I'm making like multiple lineups anyways. Like I don't think they're a single lineup play. Obviously you've mentioned sort of the recent power surges by St. Louis with their bats with Burleson and Gorman and those guys there. Last 2 weeks against right-handed pitching, 341 WOBA, 201 ISO, a 259 batting average, but still a 26% strikeout rate. So they are striking out a lot, but top 3 in ISO, top 3 in WOBA against right-handed pitching. So those lefty bats are doing the damage here against them for sure. Moving on over to the catcher spot. Again, a spot we usually look to just find some value and kind of plug and play there. As these lineups come out, we'll be back live at 4 p.m. Eastern time, myself and Henry Wilson for this slate. So when these lineups come out, we'll see who's in and who's out when it comes to the catcher spot. But again, we're generally looking for some value. Any notable names or highlights you just want to make here at the catcher spot?
Nothing particular. I guess if we get Sean Murphy back in the lineup, he's in play. If not, Travis Darno will
Sure.
get the start. If and then Connor Wong against right-handed pitching. Death tax is Connor Wong against
Yep,
righties.
that works. First base then. We got lefty on Ohtani and Freeman, but that really hasn't worried us in the past. Against Bailey Falter there. They gave a Roz first base eligibility. What are your thoughts on this? I don't really care for a lot of these names. I got to tell you, man, not great matchups for a lot of these first basemen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely okay getting to Ohtani Freeman
Yep.
if that's where your lineups take you, as you mentioned. Um, Olsen, I don't feel the need to pay 5,100. He's been better lately. The extra base hits have been coming in bunches, but I don't think I'd go there 5,100 lefty unless I'm playing a full Brave stack. Christian Walker has been pretty good. So I'd probably give Christian Walker a look. I'm trying to find what do we got for the Vasquez splits, because Vasquez finally had a good start his last time out, but he's been pretty bad this year. So I'm stalling. Randy Vasquez is getting Oh my God, against lefties. Holy smokes.
So
I mean, it's not.
we in on Corbin Carroll
This
on
is
this
not.
play
Oh
then?
no, of course. This isn't the necessarily the right split. 730 OPS for righties, 273 average.
Hmm.
I do like. I do like Christian Walker here, but I don't. I definitely don't love him because he's not a lefty, and I just looked at what lefties do. So,
I
yeah,
guess if we could, want to attack something I mentioned, obviously Stroman struggles against lefties here. Kirilloff and Santana, 38 and 36 lefties hit
yep.
against Stroman this year. 380 WOBA, 509 slugging against him there. 1.9 homers per nine allowed to left-handed hitters this season. 6.24 FIP for Stroman against lefties this season. So definitely a weak point for him has been left-handed bats. You mentioned Santana had homered on Wednesday. Kirilloff is hitting the ball much better late. So, you want to spend some value, maybe you go ahead and take a shot. Take a shot at Santana or Kirilloff here.
Yeah, I like both of them, and Kirilloff you can still play in the outfield too. So if you want to play, if you did want to stack up twins, you could play them both.
Yep. Moving on over to the
I
second
got, I
base.
got, wait, I got one, I got one, I got one, I got one.
Jeez, okay.
How you gonna skip over your boy Dom Smith like that in this economy?
Because he's
In this
Smith.
economy, when you need, yeah, but it's a pretty good matchup here. Jake Woodford has made one start this year. Lefties last year, John, against Jake Woodford. You ready?
Yeah.
333, 389, 594 slash line, 412 WOBA, 2.31 home runs per 9 innings. He had 4.6 strikeouts per 9 innings against
So you're
left-handed
plugging
bats.
Dom Smith in your Rafi Devers stack today.
Absolutely. He was. I just mentioned lefties. He was just as bad against righties as well.
Yeah.
So like, your Ref Snyder, your Jaron Duran,
Your
Valdez, dude, Westbrook. I mean, there's going to be a lot of interest in Boston here against Woodford. Good ballpark. Really
You
bad
think so?
pitcher.
I guess I'll be curious to see what the ownership ends up looking like because it's. I mean, I guess I'm a Red Sox fan. I'm biased. They're so bad, man.
Hey, they scored 10 runs on Duran homer. They got O'Neill off the IL. I think that there's going to be more interest here because the spot is
pseudo
so
healthy.
good. Pseudo healthy, and the spot is just, I think, really good. And like, when you play anyone but Devers, who is expensive on this team? I mean, they're not expensive. Like, O'Neill's 52.
Jaron Duran's expensive. That's what.
Yeah, O'Neill 52, Duran 48. But like, Ref Snyder 38, Wong 37, Hamilton 37, Valdez 31, Dom Smith 28, who we just mentioned, Westbrook 2,000 stone cold men. Like, I don't know. I do have a little interest in Dom Smith. He looks better. He's looked better at the plate, that's for sure. Back double-digit fantasy point games for him.
All right, I'll give the nod to Dom Smith there. Rumored to be a Red Sox 5 years ago, finds his way there now. Second base, Albies versus a lefty. I don't need to expand on that one too much.
No.
Marte, Cronenworth, your top guys there. I don't mind Cronenworth against Ciccone. I don't think Ciccone's very good at all. So perfectly fine in those matchups. I guess I don't know. What are your thoughts on the rest of this? Like, I mean, I guess we have to go to Nolan Gorman here right now.
Yes.
Just the way the power is going, right? $3,900 for him.
Yeah, it's got to be Gorman. And he's going to be popular. And I do have interest in Cal Quantrill. I do think he's been fine. Lefty 710 OPS against him. He's pitched to a 392 ERA on the road, so obviously, like, pitching well away from Coors. But Nolan Gorman's just hitting everything out. Not only does he look like Colby Conway, he just hits a lot of home runs. So
yeah,
I like Gorman 39, probably better than anyone priced above him. Like per dollar, I don't really think this is a very great position. I guess you have to take like Jonathan India's Coors Field games with a little grain of salt because they were Coors Field, right?
Yeah,
$4,000, and then you start just talking about value, and I don't even see much here. Shout out Emmanuel Valdez.
Yeah, so Jamie Westbrook had a hit today. He's been playing out of just necessity. Emmanuel Valdez had the double dong day against Detroit. He does have some power in his bat. He's not been very good though. But you mentioned Woodford, not very good either. So we'll see what these lineups look like. We've been playing a lot of Nick Gonzalez. I don't think I go there against Walker Buehler though. At $3,800, Miguel Rojas will probably play. Again, a guy that has historically hit lefties well, and I say historically, I'm talking like 8 years ago, right? Right, like he's obviously much older now. The numbers have dipped over the last couple of seasons as he's gone on, but there was a time and a day when Miguel Rojas on the Miami Marlins was a plug and play against lefties. So if you wanted him, he's going to probably be a wraparound stack candidate with like Betts and those guys. So all right, let's move on over to third, where you have Rafi Devers, you have Royce Lewis, your top two guys there. Power in both bats.
Yes.
Lewis has only homered this season. He's now played 3 games. He's homered in all 3 of them.
On pace to go every game this year with a home run.
Yeah, on pace. But you're in more on Devers than Lewis here?
Oh, yeah. I think Devers is, without looking at outfield, before I get there and completely change my mind because Judge and Soto are there, Rafael Devers is my favorite play this slate so far.
Okay.
But then again, we're going to get to the outfield, and Judge and Soto exist in the world, so we'll see if that's so.
They do exist in the world.
At least for 4 skill positions, Rafael Devers is my favorite play until we get there.
Okay. There is really not anything else at third base. You could go Machado against Ciccone at 48.
You're good.
Are you playing anybody else? If you're not playing Quantrill, I guess you would go Arenado at 38, which is a pretty cheap price point. He homered today.
Yeah, he's been a little better from the power and a power.
There's not much depth here at third.
No, because like they're even not even. We would suggest some names, but they're in the bad splits. Like Senzel, Miranda, you would suggest if they were facing lefties, they're not.
All right.
Eugenio, if they're facing lefty, they're not.
Like Carpenter, but like he's not been very good. So
I think the days of Matt Carpenter are completely past us.
I'm not even gonna argue. I'm not even gonna argue with you. I agree.
I think this is just a position you're spending, like you want to.
You want Devers? You're playing Devers out of necessity now, it seems like.
You could play Riley in a stack. You could probably play Candelario, who's been
Assad is
pretty
such
good.
a weird one for me because he's been like really good this season. He just doesn't pitch all that deep into games.
No, never.
So like
never.
I don't really want to go against Assad because he hasn't given up much of anything this year. So shortstop. Pick your shortstop here.
Pick my shortstop.
Yeah.
Again, like Ellie had a fine week at Coors, right? But he's kind of been bad outside of 5 hits in Coors Field. You can always play him. There's always a ceiling, but you just said your piece on Assad. So do we need to go to Ellie De La Cruz? Mookie Betts really slumping right now. Do you want to pay $6,100 for him and possibly not get Devers or Judge or Soto? I don't know. Mookie's fine. Abrams, another guy who's really struggling. Don't think I would want to pay $5,300. I think the first name I really like at shortstop is Volpe, and I don't even love Volpe here. He's just been on base for 32 straight games, so he has another long. Is he just starting another hit streak now? But I've told you, I think the last Pablo Lopez start, that Pablo Lopez was getting incredibly unlucky, and then he went out and had a really good game against Houston.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he is going to shove versus the Yankees. He struggled against the Yankees last time, but I would say the first name I really have any interest in is Volpe, and even that is I'm kind of lukewarm on. I think it's Arcia, this Kim, Hamilton, Arcia, Ceddanne Rafaela figure that I would have interest in.
I would agree with you. Obviously, Arcia has the lefty splits. Ceddanne Rafaela is kind of a weird case where in terms of like rookies, he's like among the leaders in home runs and
Yep.
RBIs and stolen bases and all things. He's just hitting 200, right? So like maybe in a weaker pitching matchup, like we assume he has here with Woodford, he'll be able to get the better of him. He's a free swinger. Woodford's not going to really strike anybody out, so maybe this is a spot for Rafaela there to go. I like the Ha-Seong Kim call just for some potential power. Stolen base. Same thing with Hamilton, stolen base upside there against Woodford. So, and then of course, I mean, you're spending up for Devers. I guess like with Falter, you would consider spending up for Betts, right? And maybe go
He's been bad.
value.
He's just been bad.
I know.
He
I
just
know.
like hasn't been like. Of course, you can pay 6,100. I'm just saying he's 6,100. Does that if you're playing Devers and you want Mookie, does that now like I mean that completely takes you off like
Yeah, you're
Connie,
double spending
Judge,
down.
Soto. You're
Agreed.
like your pitching is now like are we playing Quantrill at that point? Like I just doesn't it feels
I
like
agree.
you can of course you can do it, but it just doesn't feel great.
Yeah, that's fine. Outfield here, where you mentioned you have to pick Soto or Judge against Lopez if you wanted to go there. Ozuna versus a lefty and Parker's 57. $100. Teoscar gets the lefty and Falter 52. The right split side. You mentioned O'Neill, $5,200 in a good spot as well there. Duran 48. Again, there's definitely some good matchups to target here in the outfield in the top half of the pricing.
I mean, how do you not play Judge or Soto on every day? Uh,
Well,
I'm not just
they're
saying I
over
like put my
$6,000. Like,
yeah, but like, is anyone consistently paying off their price more than them
probably
on
not.
a given day? I mean, Judge has 27 extra base hits in 29 games.
Yeah.
That's just stupid. That doesn't even make sense. There's tweets going out. Are they the best duo ever? They played 50 games together, 60 games together. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
But it's where we are. You could play any of them. I would say Judge and Soto. You could make a case that they're the two best plays of every slate at this point, just with how good they've been. I'd probably lean Judge just with how good he's been. I guess in relevance to Soto, he's been a little better.
Mm-hmm.
But lefties do have slightly better numbers against Pablo Lopez. So if you do want to lean based on what the actual splits tell you, then play Soto because that's the better split. Soto's been a little better. But then after them, Ozuna's great against lefties, and I would go right to O'Neill and Jaron Duran. I think
Sure.
both those guys are extremely interesting.
Yep. Again, if you were to pick a Carroll spot, I guess Vasquez and those numbers against lefties would be it. He has been terrible though. He's $4,400. You had all the Minnesota lefties here with Kepler. Larnick was down here at $3,900. So again, if you want to run out some lefties against Stroman, you certainly can do so and take advantage of those matchups. Anybody else in this mid tier for you?
Yeah, I mean Corbin's there, but so is Jock Peterson. If you wanted to
Sure.
play someone who's been a little better, I know not necessarily lately, hasn't been great, but he's been really good on the year. 900 OPS. John, this is why we need to play lefties against Randy Vasquez. 472 average allowed, 1300 OPS allowed. Those numbers are bad. Unfortunately for us, we're not picking between a large pool of like good lefties. But
They
Jock
should be.
Peterson's we should be.
They should be good lefties.
They should be. Like Jake McCarthy should be better. Ketel Marte should be better. Corbin, like just the list goes on. Jock Peterson's been good, hitting 300, 6 home runs against right-handed pitching. So that would be the guy for me. The only guy that you didn't mention this year.
Okay. Under 4K for some value on this tier. Again, talked Larnach already. Had mentioned him. You talked Ref Snyder a little bit earlier. Any go-to plays for you down here? I guess Jake McCarthy would be a guy at 37. Duvall gets Parker lefty at $3,700 as well. Kirilloff with the dual eligibility. Jackson Merrill in a good split spot. Like, what are your thoughts overall here?
Andy Pages of the Dodgers gets the righty-lefty split. Pages has hit a home run
Sure.
tonight. So I'd go there. Adam Duvall only does damage against lefties. He's been bad,
He's
granted,
been
but
bad, yeah.
he's is good against lefties, so take that into consideration. You mentioned Kirilloff at first base. You can definitely go there. Um, Burleson 33. If you wanted to play,
Sure.
homered in 3 straight games and then doubled on Wednesday to ruin the streak, but has a nice little extra base streak going 4 straight.
Do we get a Pavin Smith sighting here in this lineup?
Probably. I mean, again, I think
He's been good.
I he has, and I think they're going to do whatever they can to get whoever's hitting into their lineup, and pair that with the fact that he's a lefty versus a guy who can't get lefties out. Now he's only hitting 238 against righties on the year, but as you mentioned, what have you done for me lately? Pavin Smith goes through one of these stretches every year.
He does.
Where
He's even
we're gonna
optioned at one point last year. So
I mean, he's gonna get optioned again this year. I almost gosh dang guarantee it. But right now, Pavin Smith's been really good, so I definitely think that he's interesting.
Okay. That's probably it until we get some obviously lineups out here. Let's make a line though. Where do you want to start things here? Walker Buehler, I think you and I are both in on.
Yeah, I was gonna say Buehler. Devers was like the first 2 names that came to my brain. That was, and
Let's
then if we wanted to play either Braves catchers or Connor Wong, if we're spending in that range.
Yeah, I'm fine with. I don't know if Murphy will be in there. What's Herrera been up to lately? He's been okay.
He's still hitting in the middle of the lineup.
Yeah, still hitting in the middle of the lineup, but let's go Wong for now, and we'll move it around if we have to. Mentioned Donovan at second, or Gorman rather, 39.
Yeah.
Shortstop. We were in this
it's not a good. It's that low 4s. I mean, I don't hate the Hamilton play, especially with the stolen base equity for Hamilton.
Hamilton or Rafaela?
I think Rafaela probably has the ceiling because he has a double dong on his resume, right?
Yeah, I went twice the other day.
He probably has the resume. Woodford against righties last year, 296, 296 average, 551 slug, 397 WOBA. Was bad against both splits. The year prior, lefties hit him better than righties. So 3 years of data, lefties have been giving Woodford a lot more issues when you're just looking back to 2021. So I would say the lefty side of the split is where I'd lean.
Okay. So we got 4,800 first base. We did talk Twins, so I guess we could go
Kirilloff.
Yep. And then so that's 5,100. Let's say, what do we want to do for how could give us 35.50 an outfielder for 3?
Hunter Greene. I mean, Hunter Greene is pretty interesting at 82. If he just,
I'm okay going. Yeah, I'm good going there. That gives us 4,100 an outfielder. Where's Burleson again down here? Right, 33.
33. Yep.
4,500 an outfielder. A little bit better there.
Jock Jams. We'll do Jaron Duran.
Okay.
See what we got from there.
You want Duran or O'Neill?
Let's do Duran with the split.
Okay.
I do agree that we could potentially, if we need to save some cash, we can go back up to.
Okay. 4,200 could give us Larnach, just another twin.
He'll probably hit atop the lineup.
Yeah.
They just don't win. They just don't win.
It's unfortunate that Weiler had to slip down the stairs and
that was brutal.
Because that would be the shore guy. But all right, let's go Larnach here. We're back on our Twins little mini stack. We got 4 Red Sox. We'll see how that plays.
Hell yeah. I know you're super happy about it.
With Buehler, Greene, and the two-man cards stacked there. Again, we'll be back live at 4 p.m. Eastern time, so make sure you tune in there, subscribe, do all the good stuff. Help us out. Free way to support the channel. Follow James and I over on Twitter. Get in the Discord if you're a Fantasy Star member. And we'll see you again at 4 o'clock, everybody.